Hey guys, so welcome to episode 6 of Leftovers Vlogs. I definitely hit record before I was ready to hit record, so I caught myself off guard. But hi, welcome to this episode that's gonna be one, probably a lot more low-key than, I don't know, I might be yelling by the end of this, but one is probably going to be a lot more low-key than the last episode, and two, it's going to be something different than just, well, last episode was different because I was talking about like extravaganza stuff, but this episode is going to be different in the sense that I'm hoping it'll kind of start a new branch and direction for like this series in general, Leftovers Vlogs series, because while I have my hiatus stuff going on, I just finished my Pokemon species card worksheets, which was just a massive undertaking. I think I did like 35 worksheets this past weekend, trying to get those finished up. So I have an episode for those coming soon. Episode 7 is on the horizon, but I just needed to talk about this specific subject, and I think the episode is going to be titled like flexibility and the power of pantsing, or something like that, because this has been on my mind for a while, just the idea of being a pantser and like specifically the power behind pantsing, because I feel like we as pantsers, by the way, I'm gonna be saying pantsing a lot in this video, get ready. I also, you might hear creaking because I have to pace for this video. I can't just sit down and like record this. I have to pace for this one, so I'm sorry if you hear creaking. It's probably my floor. It's my floor. Lord, what else would it be? But yeah, so I feel like as pantsers, a lot of us in the pantser community, it sounds so silly to say, but a lot of us in the creative community who pants, or who are gardeners, if you're going by the George R.R. Martin terminology for it. A lot of us look at planners, people who plan their series, and oh man, you guys are so powerful. You guys have, everything planned out, and like, couldn't be me, which that's me saying that, like, couldn't be me, even though I'm doing this hiatus to like plan my story out. But if I had to plan everything to the T, I would die. I physically can't. I think I've mentioned it before, that it like I'm in here stuttering because it gives me anxiety just thinking about it, just not being able to, like, having no wiggle room for things, and you'll see why by the end of this video. Oh god, I feel like you guys are just used to me giggling at this point in these videos, to be honest. But yeah, so just the power of pantsing and everything has been on my mind recently because of something that you guys might not ever expect. So let me just go ahead and give warnings for this video. I'm going to be talking a lot about a little known series. Don't you love when people do that? A little known series called Attack on Titan. I'm not going to be going into specifics, and if I do end up slipping into specifics, I'll make sure to give a spoiler warning ahead of time, but I don't want people to not be able to listen to this video, because they have to keep looking out for spoiler warnings, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna try not to spoil that, but just the nature of what I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to try my best. Likewise, I'm going to try not to spoil my own stuff too, because I feel weird saying like, oh, there's a lot of parallels. There's a lot of parallels between me and a lot of pantsers, I feel like, and Isayama, who is the creator, the mangaka behind Attack on Titan, that will, like, for me personally, it would involve going into a lot of stuff that's going to happen in the future, because I'm not far enough along to where I can make these conclusions. Okay, let me bring it back. All right, back to the topic of pantsing, because I feel like before I get into this, I need to like bring up some specific terminology or like some operative terms, right? So, okay, we all know what pantsing is, where it's, well, I'm just going to explain it anyway, just in case you don't know what pantsing is. It's just basically where somebody doesn't really have a plan for their story, doesn't really have like everything detailed, mapped out for their story, but they are like basically making it up along the way. George R.R. Martin described pantsing as gardening. So you have gardeners and architects. And architects, they have a plan for, there's the creek. They have a plan, speaking of architects, not my apartment. They have a plan for everything from, you know, where like main water lines are gonna go to whatever, you know. They're architects. They have a plan for everything. They know how the building is gonna be built and they focus on that and they build that. Whereas gardeners, he described it as you drop a seed in a hole and you know what kind of seed you planted, like the magic fantasy seed or like the crime drama seed or whatever, but you water it and then you let it grow, and wherever it goes is wherever it goes, and you just tend it along the way, basically. So pantsers, the reason why I use the term pantsers and where pantsers came from is because pantsers / gardeners fly by the seat of their pants, so that's where pantsers came from. But I'm gonna break it down even more for this specific video because I feel like this is hard to really. Maybe it's not as hard as I think it is to like really pinpoint and talk about, but sometimes it feels like it's hard to put my finger on it until very recently. So here are my operative terms for this video. Okay, so you have pantsing forwards, and then you have pantsing backwards / retroactive pantsing. And those might not sound like they make any sense at all right now, but this is like the way I define it is pantsing forwards is when you use what you established and continue to build on it going forward. So just basically, you know, just like pantsing. You have like these characters that you've been making, and like you might not know exactly what their personality is like or what their favorite food is or whatever, but like later down the line, you know, you've built on the character and you've pantsed your way up to that point. You've fallen forward, if you will. And then the main topic of today's video is something I like to call retroactive pantsing, which is when you have, like at some point farther in the story, you have a new direction or an idea, and you go back to figure out how to maintain internal consistency enough to make it look like you were headed there all along. That is what I wanted to talk about because I feel, and some of you might be putting, you know, 2 and 2 together with the me bringing up Attack on Titan, but I feel like that is where like the true power of pantsing comes in. Like and I will say, like, I'm counting myself, I'm patting myself on the back here too, because I think this is something I'm particularly good at, and I feel like I also don't say that, I don't get to say that very often, that like, oh, I'm really good, so I'm going to be praising myself in this video, because I deserve it, like, in this, you know, in this sense, and I feel like we all should, like, praise ourselves or show ourselves some gratitude. Yeah, there it is, because praising yourself sounds, I don't know, it sounds off to me. So showing myself gratitude, showing some self-gratitude for like the skills that I am, you know, proud of, the skills that I have. In the words of Hiatus, who I feel like I bring up once every 2 videos on this channel, basically like we always look at, what did I say? We always look at what here we go. I got this. We always look at what other artists can do better than us, but we never look at what we can do better than other artists, or what we bring to the table, as opposed to what other artists are always, you know, bringing to the table. Like our skill set, our special skills. And that's basically what I'm doing in this video, is I think I have a knack for certain things when it comes to like pantsing, and I just, you know, I want to put it out there. But I'm not going to talk about myself the entire time, because the main reason why I feel it is time to talk about this, or the main reason why I even want to like bring this up is because of the man Hajime Isayama himself. I think his first name is Hajime. I'm pretty sure it's Hajime, but Isayama from, you know, Attack on Titan fame, mangaka of Attack on Titan. His work is incredible. And that's like, I don't, you know, whatever you think about Attack on Titan, I also have to mention that I am an anime only watcher. I haven't read the manga. Well, I read the manga up to a certain point, and then I like stopped because we had the anime. Like after the anime came out, I read the manga, and then preparing for season 2, which didn't come out for 4 years. So I just kind of fell out of the series, and then I got back into it in 2021, 2020. It was fairly recently I got back into it, and I binged it from season 2 up until now, and it's like, my God, it's so good. But I'm not gonna go into like specifically why it's so good, but I will say when I was watching it, and if you know, you know, as far as like how the series develops, when I was watching it, I couldn't help but have this feeling in the back of my head, like, oh man, I feel like I'm watching this story being made up as it goes on, but not in a bad way, like not in a sloppy way. It's just, as somebody who also has their own work, I feel like certain aspects of Attack on Titan, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I can't help but analyze, like, this wasn't planned from the beginning, but he's doing a really good job of like not making it seem like that. God, this is where it gets really hard to talk about this, because I don't want to do spoilers for this. I'm also getting like really hyped up. I don't know if you heard it in my voice, I'm getting all shaky and shit, but it just makes me like excited to talk about, because it's just so cool to see this kind of thing in a mainstream work. And obviously it's not the only mainstream work that has this, but this kind of, like I said, retroactive pantsing. But the thing is, here's the thing. I didn't want to assume that, well, okay, first of all, before I get into that, I've already mentioned before on this channel that I really like watching reaction videos, and Attack on Titan anime, no different. Whenever I watch an episode, I have like a certain set of people that I go back to and I watch their reactions just to like have some companionship there, honestly, because, you know, why not, right? But it's and then nowadays I like kind of watch it with them. Like I'll watch the episodes with them, and it's really nice. But the more reactions I watch, the more I noticed a lot of people who are, especially in season 4 is on demon time. Like, if you know, you know. But like, just everything that's unfolding in season 4, specifically season 4 part 2 at the moment, but all of season 4. I didn't even say around the end of season 3 reactions is when I started hearing this, but a lot of people just constantly are like, oh my god, dude, this is genius, he had this plan the whole time, like, yo, this is where this was leading to. And I couldn't help but think in the back of my mind, and when I say this, I mean this in the least malicious way possible. This is not like, oh, you guys think Isayama's a genius, but really he's a fraud. Like, this is not what I'm talking about. Hopefully none of you guys think that this is where I'm going with that, but I couldn't help but think in the back of my mind the entire time, they don't really know how story writing works. They don't, not like, I feel like that sounds so mean. No, but just the fact that, like, looking at something and analyzing a work from the perspective of somebody who writes and the perspective of someone who just watches, two completely different things. Just complete different worlds. There's certain things, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure you've heard or you've even had experiences of watching something and you're like, man, I wish I could have enjoyed that twist more, but I knew it was coming because I know writing conventions. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that, where, you know, if you have, and that's why stuff like Attack on Titan for people who are in the anime reviewer realm or just in like the media reviewer realm. That's why you'll hear a lot of people talking about it like in hyperbole, like, oh, it's a masterpiece, oh, it's you, because it bucks conventions so frequently and so often. Well, frequently, often, the same thing. But it bucks conventions so much that it has taken the people who are used to creating the rides on a ride. So yeah, okay, well that's that there. But whenever I see people that are like, oh my god, this was planned the entire time, I couldn't help but think, bringing it back, I couldn't help but think in the back of my mind, like, I feel like maybe this wasn't planned the entire time. But then I also had this contradicting thought of, okay, don't, just because you're out here fighting for your life, trying to plan a plot, like, don't, put that on Isayama. He could be a mastermind. He could have planned this from the beginning. Lots of people plan this from the beginning. Just going back to what I was saying earlier, we all look at planners like, yo, how do y'all do that? Like, it's not my mentality. I can't, do it. But, well, maybe I could, but I prefer not to do it. But like, I have mad respect for people who do it. So I was like, all right, even though I'm sitting here thinking about this from a pantser mindset, let me not put that on Isayama, right? Let me not just assume, out of respect, let me not assume that he is making this shit up along the way, because I can see there's certain areas, and again, I just can't. If you know me personally, and if you want to hear my TED Talk on the powerful pantsing of Attack on Titan, message me, hit me up. I will show you some things that we probably all already been knew, but I just want to talk about it. So, but yeah, there's certain things where I was like, I don't think that like quite lines up, but I can see and I admire the possibility of him looking at this from the future. I can't say that, that's a spoiler. Looking at this from the future and like retroactively making this work in the past. Let me get off of that, because I'm gonna get spoilery if I do that, if I say that. But yeah, so I didn't want to assume, I didn't want to, just out of respect, I didn't want to assume that this man wasn't planning his story out. So I just let the idea die, the idea of this episode, episode, video, whatever. I just let that idea die, because I was like, alright, this is maybe not something that like is as apparent as I thought it was. And I did not want to research Isayama or touch any kind of articles on Attack on Titan, because there are just some wild ass hot takes out there. Like, y'all boys are on some other shit. There's some wild hot takes, especially with the subject matter for Attack on Titan and for later seasons. It's wild. So I was like, I'm good. It's not worth it. I'm not prepared to risk it all, because I know I'm going to lose it all. But one morning, in the mornings, I'll get up, I'll get some food, and I'll watch a couple of videos, and then I'll clock in for work and start my day. One morning, I didn't have anything to watch. I didn't have any reactions. I didn't have any new episodes of anything that was coming out. All I had was a video on YouTube, just in my recommendeds, called The Evolution of Attack on Titan and How It Fooled Us All. And it's by, oh my god, who's this video by? Literal Maverick. Okay, The Evolution of Attack on Titan, How It Fooled Everyone by Literal Maverick. And I'll put a link to that in the description for sure. Check that video out, because I was watching it and I had this moment of like, oh my god. This is literally it. And the funny thing is that the stuff that he was talking about in this video was stuff that I was thinking about literally the night before, because I was, like I said, this video has just been on my mind. Just doing this episode has been on my mind. and he basically did the research for me, so I didn't have to do it myself. And even though I know he didn't do it for me, but like, thank you, Literal Maverick, because now I have the confidence to like go through with this video and just kind of go off for a little bit about this subject, because he basically confirmed, he pulled up some, articles and stuff, and just basically confirmed that Isayama is in fact a pantser. He is a pantser, and it's wild to me, because when I was watching reviews, reaction videos, and when I was watching the episodes, I felt it. Like, maybe this is controversial, but how sometimes people are like, oh, I have a gaydar, I know when people are part of my community. It was like that. It was like that. So I was just sitting there on the couch, mouth ajar, just watching him bring up these interview questions and stuff, where Isayama's like, yeah, I didn't really like Eren like that, but then the anime came out. So mind you, there already had to be some manga chapters created for the anime to come out, right? Like, they were pretty far into the manga for the anime to come out. He's like, yeah, I didn't really fool with Eren like that. Says the creator about his own character, his main character, by the way. He's like, until the anime came out and I heard Yuki Kaji, the god, I heard Yuki Kaji's voice acting, and it added more depth to the character, and it gave me more life. Or it gave the character more life for me. It gave Eren more life. And that right there is what I mean by the power of pantsing. Because, not saying planners can't change up the trajectory that they have for their characters if they, get a burst of inspiration. Which, by the way, I feel like I need to also put a disclaimer. I'm not shitting on pantsers at all during or planners. I'm not shitting on planners at all during this. I feel like I'm out here like talking like pantsers of the master race or some shit, but that's not it. That's not it at all. But I'm just making the comparison. But that for me is the power of pantsing, because like his whole thing, Eren's whole character changed. And the thing is, it didn't just change into a new character, it changed in a way that makes sense. And that's what I mean by the retroactive pantsing, because it completely changed to where if you look at point A or point B, where we're at now, to point A, it's like, whoa, that's a completely different character. But there's certain things that Eren was doing all the way back when Isayama didn't really care for him that much, that still makes sense for his character now. And it's like, how does that happen? You know what I mean? Like, for people who are on the outside, for people who don't know the information about Isayama not really having a direction, because he literally was like, yeah, Eren as a character was unrealistic in the beginning. He all these titans are coming up, and his first response was to go kill them. He was like, no, that was unrealistic. That was head ass shit. Like, it's like, basically saying, he was like, that was unrealistic head ass mentality. And that kind of made it, at least from what I saw from the interview and the video, it kind of made Eren an unattractive character to Isayama himself. And then, like I said, the anime came out, and it's like, for those who don't know that behind the scenes information, it seems just from the outset that Eren was meant to like go on this trajectory that he's heading at all along, just because Eren's always been a wild boy. And if you know, you know. Lots of if you know, you know isms in this video, but if you know, you know. Eren's always been a wild boy, and actually, personally, that's why I didn't fool with Eren until like season 4, I want to say. I think recently, fairly recently. And that's just because he had a glow up, man. Look, I'm not gonna thirst about Eren here. Listen, the fact of the matter is that he Isayama was able to look at where Eren was, even though he had this completely radical idea for how he ends up later on. Instead of looking at the other Eren like, oh, you're dead to me, like the early Eren, like, you know, you're dead to me, this doesn't count, he was able to go back and take certain aspects of Eren's character, even though they're completely different from like where Eren ends up, and make them make sense retroactively. And that's what I mean by like the whole retroactive pantsing thing. I feel like it makes more sense than I'm giving it credit for, because it's like, when I say it out loud like that, it doesn't sound like it's that difficult to understand. But when I, like, in my head, me trying to explain this shit was wild, honestly. But yeah, so you have that. You have Eren, you being inspired by the anime incarnation of himself. But then you also have, and this is one of the parts of the video that blew my mind, because I had no idea about this. I promise you I'm going to talk about leftovers. I just realized I've been going on about Attack on Titan for 26 minutes. But I promise you leftovers is coming. It might be the end of the video, but yeah, this next part, like, threw me for a loop, because in this video it mentioned that Isayama binged Game of Thrones. And for any of you who watch Attack on Titan or know of Attack on Titan, it has literally always been compared to Game of Thrones. It has literally always been called the anime Game of Thrones. And it's like the vibe was there, but it didn't really hit as anime Game of Thrones until season 3, which is where I'm guessing Isayama had watched, because he was like, you know, yeah, this is gonna have a huge impact on my work, you know. But this is where it like, I'm assuming he watched that, and from season 3 material, because obviously the manga doesn't have seasons, but from season 3 material onward is where you can really feel that Game of Thrones influence. But here's the thing, even though seasons 1 to 2 feel like completely different shows, or a completely different like storyline, seasons 3 to 4 don't completely disregard what happened to season 1 and 2. I know this has to sound so obvious, right? Like, why would you write a story going forward and then forget like what the foundations that you laid down? But as somebody who reads, you know, a lot of like web comics and stuff, and just things that naturally develop, like, because I feel like a lot of webcomic artists are pantsers, because you start out with this idea, and, you know, like for me, I started out with, especially like in being in the Pokemon comic community, I started out with the idea of, oh, okay, you know, I have this story that I want to tell, but I don't know really how to tell it, so I'm going to follow the structure of the Pokemon games, and just, that's it. That's going to be my story. Like, I have these characters, I have, you know, but mainly I'm going to follow the structure of the Pokemon games, because that's how you do a Pokemon comic, right? And I feel like it's so easy for you to go later on in webcomics specifically, and a lot of the stuff that's happening now doesn't tie in, and doesn't, because it's, you know, the artist or the author or whatever has kind of outgrown the old pages, and they don't really tie in to where they were. Like, a lot of comics start out, or a lot of Nuzlocke start out as gag comics, and then later on it's like that is a completely different tone to where they're at now. And that's, you know, that's pantsing forward, where you're slowly, gradually building on everything. But, and here, hopefully this helps. Hopefully this makes it make more sense, at least to me. Like, y'all might be out here like, yeah, it makes sense, like, stop. But to me, in my mind, I'm still like wrestling with the idea of like, how do I make this make sense? But basically, let's say you have a comic that started out as a gag comic, right? And then you go to the end of the comic, or you go to like recent pages, and it's just completely different. It's serious now. The world building is on point. everything is just like, it's a completely different comic. Pantsing forward is that bad. That is pantsing forward. Pantsing retroactively, in my mind, is something like, I can't think of any examples, but I'm pretty sure I've read some like this. But pantsing retroactively for me is kind of like, if you look at that comic that started as a gag comic and then you see the other pages that are like super serious, and then you read back again, it's like the person tied in the gag comic aesthetic to the story down the line. Like, the gag comic was because the character that we're following, that their point of view, they were just, you know, a goof, or they like, and then it's super apparent later on down the line why it was a gag comic to begin with, even though it was a gag comic to begin with, because it was just a gag comic. Like, there was no reason for it being a gag comic, but the artist later on kind of gave a retroactive reasoning to why it was a gag comic. Again, like, whether it's like we were following the point of view of the main character, and they were goofy and they were young, and the outlook on the world was different. Oh, sorry, what was that? That was corny, I'm sorry. I don't even know if you heard what I said, but go back and rewind it, I guess. But yeah, that, like, stuff like that, I feel like is so powerful, because it takes a lot for a lot of us to go back and read our own work. I don't necessarily have that problem, because I do like looking at my old stuff, but there are certain things where I'm still struggling to make them make sense. And I have a policy, and I might have mentioned this before, but I have a policy that I will not redo my earlier pages, but I have done something called a director's cut, which is like a little bit of a cheat when it comes to like the whole retroactive pantsing thing. Basically, I added on a little bit more to the beginning of the story instead of redoing the beginning of the story, which might still count as retroactive pantsing. Now that I'm thinking about it, because I basically just like, it was like a sandwich without a top bun before, and now it has a top bun. Basically, it's a stronger foundation. Whatever. I thought you were going to talk about leftovers, but that's not the point. But yeah, so, oh my god, I completely forgot where I was. Isayama, Game of Thrones, pantsing, oh, okay. I know where I'm at. Man, I completely forgot to bring this up, but like, personally speaking, I have a lot of moments like this in Leftovers, and I'm always hesitant to bring it up because I don't want to ruin the magic, if that makes sense. Like, there's certain things where, like, pantsing forward, there's certain things, and there's certain things where I like am retroactively pantsing at the moment. But for those, I can't really talk about them, and that's why I mainly talked about like Attack on Titan, because Attack on Titan is finished. All of the stuff that it is apparent that he retroactively pantsed it's there. It's all laid out where you can look at the series as a whole and be like, oh my god, dude, he like made that up and he like made it work. And it's just like the idea that everybody who's reacting to the series is like, oh my god, he had this plan the entire time. That is like, I feel like that's the cream of the crop when it comes to pantsing, retroactive or otherwise, where you want to maintain that internal consistency. I feel like the episode's falling apart. You want to maintain that internal consistency. I am like running out of steam because I had to yell about Attack on Titan. I wasn't even really yelling, but I had to yell about Attack on Titan and just the pantsing thing. And now I'm talking about my own. Now I'm about to talk about my own stuff, but I'm running out of steam because I can't give any spoilers away. But I feel like that's what you want. That's what you're aiming for. And that's kind of a little bit of a segue into me just talking to you pantsers out there. The rest of you guys who are like in the pantsing, or the rest of you guys who feel like, damn, I have this story and I don't know where it's going. Don't be afraid to wing it. Moral of the story, don't be afraid to wing it, because I feel like if you look at a series like Attack on Titan and you realize, or you're able to like get that behind the scenes knowledge that like Isayama's been winging it and this series is so successful, and it's so, I hate using the hyperbole, but just from where I'm looking at now, it is very masterfully put together in my opinion. And that was with him starting out just kind of winging it. Like, he started out, he was just like, yeah, it's a shonen. Yeah, I got, these characters. Like, oh, yeah, Mikasa's named after a warship. Like, stuff like that. Like, don't be afraid to wing it and figure out later on down the line where your specialties are. Because here's the thing, with Isayama and Attack on Titan, even though he was winging it for a while, there were still certain things in Attack on Titan, like episode 5, if you know, you know. There were certain things in Attack on Titan that bucked narrative conventions, and I feel like that is a strong suit of Isayama's. Before he even tapped into it, before he even like learned to hone it from season 3 onward, maybe late season 2, but I think season 3 onward, content wise, before he even learned how to hone that was something that was there. And that's what I mean. That's why I said that I was going to praise, myself a bit, because I feel like even though I was winging it literally from chapters, 1 to 11? Nope, okay, 1 to 13, because 13 through 16 is, so I guess 1 to 12, but 13 through 16 is where I started, like, putting an actual story together. But, like, even though I've been winging it, my strong suit has been there throughout. Like, I'm really good, it feels weird saying that, but gotta do it, I gotta grit my teeth and give myself some props. I'm really good at characters, and I'm really good at world building through characters, and that's always been there, but even before I like tapped into it. So if you're winging stuff now, do not feel like you're just winging it because you're not good at anything. The thing that you're good at will make itself apparent later on down the line. You just do what you gotta do right now. Have fun, have fun with your series. Do what you gotta do. Make the series that you feel like you want to make in the moment. Like for me, I just wanted to tell the story of Asadi going on her Pokemon journey in the Pokemon world. I'd never done a Pokemon comic before. I'd read all of them. I'd read a bunch of Pokemon comics up to that point, and I was really inspired to make a Pokemon comic. There's a few other inspirations for Leftovers beginning, but we're not going to go into that right now. That's a whole other topic. But yeah, I just, I wanted to tell the story of this older trainer who is a little slow to start, and we just kind of winged our way to where we are now. And over time, I figured out, that, I'm actually really good at characters. And then I went back and I looked, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, I've actually always been really good at characters. And so now I can use not only my ability to write characters and do world building through characters, but I can also use this ability of, and this is something that I've always known, I've always had the inkling that I'd be fine because I had this ability, the whole retroactive pantsing thing. But before it was called retroactive pantsing, because I literally just gave it a name tonight, it may or may not even make sense. Before it was called that, I called it my art critique bullshit technique. And this is why, right? So, I started Leftovers in 2015. I was in 10th grade, not 10th grade, Jesus Christ. I was in sophomore year of college. And for those of you who've gone to an art school, or for those of you who've gone to, because I didn't go to an art school, but I went to a school with, an art track. For those of you who go there, you probably can relate to the idea of critiques and art classes being more about the idea behind what you make as opposed to the technical aspect of what you make. Because who's here to learn how to draw? All you gotta do is learn how to talk about it. Am I right? So what I did is I developed, this is not new for anyone really, but I developed the art critique bullshit technique where I would, procrastinate. That's what we do. Picard procrastinates over here. Procrastinate on my work for, up until like the night it's due. And then I would do my best on it because up to, I think, 12th, I keep saying 12th grade, up until senior year of college, I had not yet mastered the idea of, hey, maybe give it 75% instead of 100 so you don't kill yourself. So I would always give it 100% every time until senior year, and I'd be sitting there the morning before class, and it's like, oh shit, I gotta talk about this. I gotta talk about this work. So, I look at it and I'm like, okay, what kind of things can I draw from this artwork? Like, I made this line thicker because it's on the inside near my heart, and that's where the tangles of my soul are. You know what I'm talking about if you've been in art school. Don't laugh at me. Where you sit and you're like, all right, I gotta extrapolate some deep ass meaning from this so I can entertain people during critique, or so I can answer the questions, even though it's 10 o'clock in the morning, I don't feel like talking to anybody, my social energy is -10, and this teacher is going to be on my ass. I have to extrapolate something, put my thing up there, and go to town. And I got really good at bullshitting TED Talks. And that had the adverse effect of making me actually really good at analyzing things. Because it wasn't just me talking about my own work, it was me talking about my classmates' work too. Where it's like, okay, we all know that we really don't care about this, so we need to get this over with. But we're not gonna get out of here until somebody presents a really good argument for why this art looks the way it looks. So I'm gonna be that dude. I'm just gonna come out here and be like, hey yo, listen. So I can feel the dichotomy of it's a fun fact, my mom is really good at this too. Me and her would just talk about random shit. We would leave, because we had, back in 2000, whenever it came out, when Twilight was coming out, we would leave the theater and just make bullshit reviews, Siskel and Ebert-esque, got my pipe type of reviews, where we would just turn our nose up and use big words. And so that's it's just been a part of me. So I was always kind of okay, you know what? I can just start leftovers and it'll be fine. I can, I'll figure it out as I go. And so I didn't really get the chance to do that until obviously later on down the line, where I'm now, literally now, because now there's certain things I gotta go back, and I know I said I didn't want to buck the magic, or I didn't want to ruin the magic, but why did Kiba come out of her Pokeball and use a track? First thing. Just thinking, just looking at this is my freebie to you guys, okay? To you guys who have read my comic, this is my freebie, my free pass for you to know that I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, okay? So, Kiba comes out of her Pokeball in Chapter 4, right? I had to get this off my chest for a long time. Kiba comes out of her Pokeball in Chapter 4, and the first thing she does is use a track, okay? Knowing what we know about the Ice Queen now, do you really think she would have come out of her Pokeball and rubbed up against some dude? I don't think so. Let me know in the comments, because that is a prime example of something I'm gonna have to go back and retroactively pants, and I am fighting for my life to justify why she did that. Like, I can't sleep unless unless that's figured out by the end of the story. I promise you. I promise you. I'm not even exaggerating at this point. Like, that is, oh my god, I'm so happy I got that off my chest. Whoa. So now you guys know, like, the slim amount of people who listen to this, who watch this, and also read Leftovers, now you know, whenever you see a justification for why Kiba did that in the future, because I'm working on it, whenever you see that retroactive pantsing nightmare, give me a shout out. You shout out this episode, because y'all are the ones. Y'all were with me from square one. Oh my god. I only wanted this episode to be like 35 minutes maybe, and I've just gone on way too long at this point. Let me look at my notes. I have anything else to talk about? Oh, okay. I had some examples of me pantsing, except they ended up not being the type of pantsing I was talking about. Like, I really cannot, like, I really went into this video and cannot give any examples from Leftovers. All I can give is vague, like, maybes, like the Kiba thing, where it's, you know, something is going to happen down the line. I'm gonna, you know, retroactively pants that, but I can't give too much because, like, those are spoilers, kinda. I mean, well, okay, so I can give another one actually about Kiba, perhaps. But this isn't. I have to verify my sources on this. So, in chapter 4, when Kiba ran away, I'm pretty sure at the time my idea was, oh hey, she's, you know, the sassy Mon. There's got to be a Mon that runs off and doesn't want to cooperate, right? So of course she runs off into the city. The reason why I say, like, I have to cite my sources on this is because, like, why did she run into the city if she wasn't trying to do this thing, right? So back then, I'm pretty sure she was, you know, sassy Mon, just running off to the city because she wanted to get away from Asadi. And, you know, when her and Sammy were talking in the Pokemon Center, she was still just being sassy Mon, like, yep, I'm gonna be out of here, like, don't even commit my name to memory. But now that we have chapter, was it 15, I think? Yeah, chapter 15, where we get a glimpse of Kiba, 1, being shot, but they're in Slateport, so she has a connection to Slateport, and then 2, we see a little glimpse of her having a trainer. So now it retroactively makes it look like, oh, she was running into Rustboro because she was looking for her trainer. And if that doesn't explain what I mean, I feel like that was the perfect way to, like, end this video, because that is what I mean, where it's like, okay, now, you know, I've looked at things that have happened in the past, and I have, like, a checklist of stuff that has happened in the past, and I'm like, all right, gotta make that make sense, gotta make that make sense. I'm not redoing these pages, so I gotta, you know, comb it into the fold. Like, that's, you know, the thing is, I'm not, like I said, not gonna read. Yeah, that's how you know I'm getting tired. My tongue just kind of gave up for a second. I'm not gonna be folding these. I'm not gonna be, like, getting rid of those original pages and making a story that, and I'm thankful because I was able to keep things, you know, kind of vague enough. But it's not even really about keeping it vague. Like I said, do what you want to do and then worry about making it all make sense later. If you're that kind, if you're a spicy boy, if you're a spicy boy pantser like me, and by spicy boy pantser, I mean, like, help. This is a cry for help. That's what this hiatus is for. So, but, like, yeah, Kiba, I'm pretty sure at the time was not meant to be looking for her trainer. Reason I say I have to cite my sources is because why else would she be running into the city? I don't even remember. But yeah, I'm pretty sure she wasn't supposed to be looking for a trainer. And now it makes sense. Hey, quote unquote, makes sense. Oh, she was looking for her trainer the whole time. So, for those of you who don't know, I basically, it's not, I want to say it's the Steven Universe approach too. but I feel like Steven Universe was planned. Steven Universe is more planned. For those of you who don't know, Steven Universe is really well known for having super specific details. And actually, maybe now that I'm thinking about it, they might be really good retroactive pantsers too. But they're known for having like super specific details in earlier seasons that have like those are the gag comic seasons. Actually, hold on, super intricate details in like the gag comic seasons, like so 1 and 2, or well, really 1, because at the end of 1, shit kind of popped off. But later on, those things become important, and it's like basically making it a really good rewatch show, so you can pick out the hints. That, because I was, a big fan of Steven Universe, and because Leftovers was inspired a lot by Steven Universe, is what I kind of built Leftovers based on, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna throw in these little hints and things. I'm gonna throw in, like little things that could be hints. Sorry, not hints at things. Well, there's a couple things I knew that were coming up, but they were like really shallow, like next chapter I'm foreshadowing, like baby ass foreshadowing. But like there's certain things where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna throw that in there because that sounds cool. Like, oh my god, okay. For instance, again, chapter 4, man, I feel like I find a lot of these parallels, like in episode 4, the politics episode, the government episode, I realized a lot of the government shit was in chapter 11. I feel like I have a lot of these moments on this series, which makes it really fun. But in chapter 4, there's that point where we have that transition right after Kiba runs off and the lightning strikes. We have that transition, the Pucciana transition, to Danny finally passing his test. I can tell you, I was not planning for Danny to come back. I was not planning. I just wanted to do a cool transition. I just thought it was a cool transition. And then later on, it's like, oh, what if, we've got like him traveling with Birch, him traveling with Brendan, because Birch mentioned it. It'd be kind of cool to like see that later on, but that was like way later down the line. Another thing, oh man, they're all leading into each other. Another thing actually that deals with Danny and Brendan's whole situation, Hazen. So Hazen, for those of you who, well, have I talked to anyone about Hazen really? I think I mentioned him in one of these episodes, but he doesn't have a name yet in the comic. That is unintentional. I completely forgot to name him in comic. Now I have to figure out why. Retroactive Panther! Now I gotta figure out why we don't know his name yet. I gotta make like a good ass explanation for why he never gave us a name. But but yeah, so Hazen, blue-haired guy, the guy who turns into a ghost. He first joins with Danny and Brendan, but he was originally meant to be like in the very early stages of Leftovers. He was originally meant to be some guy that stole Usadi's mudkip, not named Sammy. At that moment, he was named Sammy, but he didn't have his name in the story at the time. He was originally supposed to just steal Usadi's mudkip, and so I kept that thief tendency, and a couple of you eagle-eyed viewers, or a couple of you eagle-eyed readers picked up on it. When he makes his introduction into the story, he just jacked some chick's Wurmple. Like, straight up just took her Wurmple. And I just kind of felt like, oh, well, that's harrowing, or calling back to his thief roots. But how did he take her Wurmple under her nose? Like, how did he do that? And that was the question that I was asking myself, and I was like, wait a minute, what if he like turns invisible or some shit? What if he turns invisible? And then it was like, wait a minute, what if there are people with Pokemon powers and he has ghost abilities? And then, wait a minute, what if Phoebe from the Elite Four, who is known for that spooky ass ghost girl that was like showing up in, because this was around Oris at the time, showing up in Oris in her room, what if she also has ghosting abilities? And it just kind of goes on. But that's not retroactive pantsing, that's regular pantsing, that's just pantsing forward, where it's like, I'm building off of a thing that happened. for the future, as opposed to building something in the future and then going back and trying to make it make sense, or try to make it seem like it was always planned, basically. So yeah, oh man, 54 minutes. I looked at my playlist today and I was like, man, these videos keep getting longer. I'm gonna have to shorten this up. No, denied. So I guess that is just going to be the trend. They're just gonna keep getting longer. Hopefully not longer than an hour. Let me stop talking. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to me ramble, mostly about Attack on Titan, a little bit about Leftovers at the end. I feel like the ending part where I was talking about Leftovers got really fun though, so I hope you enjoyed that. But that is going to be it for this episode of Picard Peruses. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. Well, yeah, I hope you learned something new. And for those of you, again, the Panthers, for my freaks out there, just keep doing what you do, and don't worry about, you know, not feeling as confident in your work, and don't worry about, just not feeling as confident in your work. This is falling apart. Peace. Oh no. Alright, bye y'all. Picard signing out.